Yeah, hello all. Very good evening to one and all. So yesterday, what we have discussed, in the yesterday session, we have seen what is data analytics working with IBM Cognos. Those things are clear, right? Do you have any doubts related to yesterday's session? Do you have any doubts related to the yesterday's session? Am I audible? So I hope everyone is present in the yesterday's session, right? We have discussed something related to data analytics and we have seen how to do data visualization or data analysis in IBM Cognos. Yeah, is there any coding part today? Coding part in the sense, yeah, a little bit of coding part. So basically, in today's session, we'll be dealing with the Flask application, Flask application, where in the Flask application, we'll be looking into 3 or 4 examples, like how to create a simple Flask application, how to create somewhat complex Flask application after that. So I'll share some files with you, those are we have created nothing but HTML and CSS files, which we created some user interface files using HTML and CSS. Those files we will integrate with Flask application in the code, and after that we'll integrate this Flask application with IBM DB2. No, no, yesterday's session is completely related to data analytics and what we called IBM Cognos. Today's session, where we can link up with, for example, previously, yesterday I took previous day and that previous day. So you people are dealt with machine learning, right? Machine learning, supervised machine learning, unsupervised machine learning. You know how to, if you get a data, how to create a machine learning model, how to build a machine learning model. You know that thing, right? Yes or no? Do you know those things? Like how to generate machine learning models? Yes or no? Please respond. Yeah. So once you create a machine learning model, what you need to do, you need to see whatever the machine learning model you create using Python or Jupyter Notebook, that is in the form of it will be in the form of IPYNB file, or when you save that file, it will be in the form of .pickle extension, right? So, but you cannot directly give that .pickle file or the raw file to the client, right? See, for example, I'll give one use case. So, for example, what banks will do generally, or else what banks will do? Yeah, please put a message in the Telegram regarding if you are not able to access the courses, please put a message in the Telegram. So, in generally, what banks will do? What banks will do? I'll give one use case, and we try to correlate machine learning. Like I don't discuss about machine learning much. So why we use Flask application and why we use DB2, IBM DB2 is the main agenda of today's session. So to understand the Flask application, I would like to introduce machine learning thing, a bit of machine learning thing into today's session. So I'll give some use case. What banks will do in generally? What banks will do in general? Please respond. What banks will do? See, banks will provide loans to the customers. It may provide loans to the companies, right? Yes or no? We can deposit money into the banks. In return, banks will take that money and they will give as a loan to the loan to the customers, or loan to the banks, loan to the companies, right? So it will act as a mediator for all money transactions. Yes. So for example, banks is giving loan to the companies. So you are owning a bank and I owning a company. So I want a loan and I came to you, I approached you and asked you to provide me a loan. Do you directly provide a loan to the bank? Do you directly provide a loan to the company? For example, let's assume you provided some 100 crores of money, 100 crores rupees, 100 crores to the company. So if the company is not able to repay the loan, then who are in risk? If the company is not able to repay that 100 crores amount back to the bank, then who are in risk? Please understand my question and try to reply in the Q&A. Who are in risk? Ultimately the bank is in risk, right? So before giving loan to the companies, this bank has to understand whether this company is capable of repaying the loan or not. I need to understand the financial status of that bank, of that company. So for example, let's assume you owning a software company, you provide different solutions, whatever the solutions, AI, artificial intelligence solutions or cloud based solutions, whatever the solutions, you provide solutions to the people or the company. The bank has approached you. The bank has approached you. So they asked you. So we are facing some issue in evaluating the customers or evaluating the companies. Can you develop an application? Can you develop an application which can assess us, which can assist us in evaluating the uh, financial status or whatever it may be, evaluating the bank, evaluating the companies or the employees. If I want to give the loan, instead of going with the not manual verification, all those things, if they develop an application using machine learning technology. See, yesterday, previous days, you have seen how the machine learning works. So with the help of the data, we will train the machine learning model. So with the help of the data, we will train the machine learning model, and that model will able to predict the future, right? Yes or no? Does machine learning do that thing or not? With the help of machine learning, we will train the data. We will train, see, we have data related to the customers or related to the bank. We will put that data into the machine learning model. So my model will get trained on this data. Whenever I show similar kind of data to the machine learning model, does my machine learning model is able to predict the future or not? Does it is able to predict the future, right? So this bank has came to you and they asked for the solution. I want an application which is able to give a solution to my problem. What is my problem? I want an evaluation system. I want an evaluation system which can able to assess the companies or assess the assess the people. So what solution you need to provide? You need to provide artificial intelligence solution or a machine learning solution. You will create a model and you will save a model. Do you directly give that model to the bank? Like whatever the model you trained with the data, you train the model with that data, and you will save that model using dot pickle extension. Do you provide that dot pickle extension, whatever the model you saved? Will you give that model directly to the bank, or will develop that model into an application and you provide that application to the bank? Which one you will do? Do you directly give that model which is in the raw form to the bank, or will you develop an application? So you will create some application and you will integrate this machine learning model with that application, and you deploy that application on some web server. If it is working in a better way, you will give that application to the bank, or you will give directly. So we will give that solution in the form of, yes, we will convert that model into we will convert that model into application, and that application will be given to the client. So for example, if you want to create a machine learning model and save the model, what you are using Jupyter Notebook or Google Colab or whatever it may be, right? Yes or no? In Python, you are using Python tool, and you are using Python tool and you are developing that machine learning model. But if you want to create a application, like you want some user interface, right, where the user can give some inputs to that HTML page, that HTML page has to take the inputs from the user, and that inputs has to send to the model, whatever the model you created, that to that model, that inputs has to be sent. That model has to take the inputs and it has to predict the output, and in turn that output has to be displayed onto the user interface again. So here you need to create a user interface, nothing but a user, an application you have to create it, right? Do you able to you want to create a user interface or not? If you, yes or no? Yes or no? Yeah, you want to create an user interface. So just give me a minute. Yeah. So for example, could you able to see the drawing which I am doing on the screen? So this is an user interface. This is an user interface. Here you give some values. You have created some user interface, and you will create some inputs where the user can use give the inputs. And when you click on to the predict button, so here output has to predict. In this box, output has to predict whether loan can be given or not. It has to be predicted, right? Could you able to see the screen? What I am drawing onto the screen? Please give me the confirmation. I'm drawing something with the pen on the screen. Could you able to see that? Yeah, thank you for the confirmation. So this is user interface. So how I will create this user interface? For example, yeah, you have created your machine learning model and saved that machine learning model in Python. So this is .pickle file, right? Whatever the file you created, this is in the form of .pickle. So here you created this model and saved the model using Jupyter Notebook or Python. If you want to create a user interface of such kind, which tool you will use? Which tool you will use? If you want to create a user interface of such kind, which tool you will use? If you want to create a user interface of such kind, like it has to take input from the user, which language you will use? If you want to yes, perfect, HTML and CSS. See, you will be using html html or and css, HTML and CSS, for creating a user interface like this. So this using HTML and CSS, you have created this user interface, where this user interface is capable of taking the inputs from the user. So this inputs, where it has to go? It has to go to this mod dot pickle, right? So this pickle, if the user, if this inputs has to go to this pickle model, then this pickle model has to uh, take the inputs and predict the output, and it has to throw the output onto the interface. So do you think, can we make a connection with, can we make a direct connection using .pickle file and HTML? Can we make a direct connection? Can we make a direct connection? No, right? For example, if you want to enter into a college, or if you want to enter into a movie theater, so for example, you want to go to a movie and you will book the tickets, right? So if you want to enter into a movie theater, first of all, what you need to do, you need some access, right? Yes or no? With the help of that access only, you can transfer from outside of the theater to inside of the theater. Could you able to move from outside of a theater to inside of a theater when you have access? When you have access, so when you have access, so for creating that access, we need some frameworks. We need some frameworks. Python frameworks we'll be using. Oh, sorry. Okay, I'll draw it. So this is an user interface. This is an user interface, and this is dot pickle file. Dot pickle file. So if I want to connect this model, whatever the model I saved, and this HTML pages or the HTML pages, I need something which is able to connect these two, which is able to connect these two. So if you want to use, we need some framework. We need some framework to connect to connect to the user interface and the model which we saved. So for that, we need some frameworks. So basically, we are dealing with Python. If you look into the Python, in Python, we have many frameworks. So basically, in general, we will be having Django, Flask framework, but we will be dealing with Flask framework because when we try to create an application, in precisely what is this is Flask is a web framework. It enables us to create some web applications, like it enables us to create some web application. See, here you are creating an user interface, here your model. When you connect these three things, when you connect this HTML page in the Flask and this model into the Flask, when you run this Flask application, when you run this Flask application, so this application has to host on some web address, right? See, there is a server. If you want to run this application onto the server, you need some web frameworks, right? So that web framework is called that web framework we use in Python is Flask. So when you run this application, it will run on some server. So when you open that server on the web, it will get this page, whatever the page we are getting on this web address, this page will get opened. So then user can give the input, and that inputs will go to this Flask application, and we will load this pickle model into this Flask application. We'll connect these two things. That inputs will go to the model here, and the output will be predicted here, and this Flask application will render the result onto the HTML page again. So in this way, when you try to create an application for a machine learning or something else, we will use such kind of Python frameworks to create a web application and host that application onto the server. Host that application onto the server. So till here, am I clear? Yeah, we can use, you can use Django, or instead of Flask, you can use Django instead of Flask. But when you try to create lightweighted web applications, see, when you want to go with heavyweight, like more complex web frameworks, more complex web applications, at that time you can use Django or other frameworks you will have. But when you are trying to create some simple frameworks, when you are trying to create some simple frameworks, will be using, no, these are web frameworks basically. So when you are trying to create some simple web framework, web application, simple web application in Python, using Python, we'll be going with Flask web framework. So Flask web framework. So till now, is it clear why we use this Flask or any framework? Till now, is it clear why we use any framework? So before going into the Flask framework, we will understand what is web framework. So already I explained with the previous examples only, right? So Basically, this is a web framework or web application framework, or simply a web framework represent that. So a collection of libraries. If you look into the Python, we have Django, then we have Flask, jQuery, Express, Spring, Rails. We will have different React JS. We have different types of web frameworks. Basically, it's a collection of libraries or the modules that enables us to develop a web application. If you want to develop a web application, you cannot directly use Python or something else, right? See, basically when we go with Python, we call Python as a general purpose language, right? Yes or no? Shall we call Python as a purpose language? Yeah, we call Python as a general purpose language. Why? Because Python is not only used for developing the machine learning models or developing artificial intelligence models, it also used for creating web applications. Like in this session, we'll create simple web applications using Python Flask framework. So this web application framework, or simply web framework, represent a collection of libraries and modules that allows us to create a simple web application or to write applications without bothering to such protocols, like nothing but rules and regulations, all those things. We can create simple frameworks on the user interface, like in our local system, and we can host the applications onto the local system, like local servers. So if you want to create such kind of applications, in my previous example I've shown you, if you want to create a web application, if you want to create an application that enables us to assess the financial status of a companies or employees, then we will be using some machine learning, and then we'll be using Python Flask frameworks. Then for creating the user interface, we'll be using HTML and CSS, right? So if you want to create such frameworks, we'll be using this Flask application. So this is the web development framework. So you can use, if you want to learn more about the web frameworks. Basically, when if you are into artificial intelligence and data science or machine learning, basically we'll be dealing with Flask framework. We'll be going with Flask framework, because in this technology we don't create such complex web applications. So whatever the user interface we create will be going with the HTML and CSS, or sometimes we'll be using some bootstraps that are available in the internet, or else we'll be going with the if you look into the framework, we'll be going into the Flask framework. So Django we don't use much in our day-to-day life, day-to-day applications. So we'll be using with Flask framework. So till here, am I clear why we use what is web application framework and why we use web application framework? So let's understand how. See, already I explained this part, right, with the drawing. So Flask is an web application framework written in Python. So if you want to create a Flask application or Flask web application framework, you need to know the language called Python. If you want to implement Flask, we need to implement that in Python only. So this framework was first developed by Armin Ronocher. So he's a person like basically did you attended the sessions related to Python? Like did the Python sessions like previously anyone, like in the previous sessions, did they teach you anything about Python in the previous sessions? In the previous sessions, did they teach anything on it, Python? Yes. So basically, Python is a open source language, and Python has vast amount of community. Python has vast amount of community, and Python has lot of developers. See, Python is a, first of all, it is an open source. If you want to use Python, you don't need to pay anything. So because of that simplicity, easiness of coding and simplicity, so around the world lot of people are using what we call Python. Python has its own community. You can register into the Python community, and you can contribute something to the Python. You can create your own libraries, and you can showcase that libraries to the Python community. If the Python community accepts, your libraries can be imported or installed into the Python. So in the same way, this Python has group of developers around the world. So that group of developers, this Armin Ronacher was a lead person who of an international group, like they named it as Poco. So for that particular group, he was the lead person. They will be developing different like they will be developing different libraries or different functionalities, or they will be adding different features to the Python. So continuously they goes on working. This particular person has developed this particular framework called Flask. So Flask is based on WorkZoo WSGI toolkit. So WSGI is nothing but it's a web server gateway interface. For example, this is a web server and this is your local system. So like just now I have told you, right? If you want to enter into a movie, you need some ticket, right? In the same way, if you want to connect to the web server or web service, this what we called WSGI server gateway, which is a standard for Python web application. If you want to develop any Python web application, WSGI server is a basic or standard, what we can say, standard interface for all the Python applications. So we can, it is also called like we can call it as a, it's an universal interface between the web server and the web application. Whatever the web application you create, that web application has to be hosted on the server, right? If you want to host on to the server, we need some interface, right? Yes or no? Am I clear why it is based on WSGI server? So if you want to host your web application onto the web server, so we need some interface, right? Like previously I have shown, there is an user interface, and your pickle model. If you want to if you want to what we call, if you want to connect this user interface with the pickle model, how we are using the Flask application, like Flask framework to connect your model as well as the user interface. It is acting as a framework, right? So think in this way. For example, it is acting as a gateway for user interface and your model. So it will connect these two things, right? In the same way, if you develop a web application and that web application is developed using the Flask application, HTML, CSS, whatever it may be, combination of these things, that web application has to be hosted onto the web server, right? Yes or no? So if it want to host it onto the web server, we need some interface. That interface option is given by this WSGI toolkit. So it is basically supported like based on two things. One is WSGI toolkit, and second thing is Jinja2 template engine. So Jinja2 template engine is nothing but, so whenever you are trying to create some HTML pages or CSS pages, like whenever you try to connect HTML CSS, will be using URL underscore for. So URL basically will be using URL underscore for. So URL underscore for is used for like for example, there is a web template engine which combines a template with a certain data source. For example, you have a web template, and that web template has to be rendered into this Flask application. So like whenever I am showing the practical, okay, we don't use CSS, right? So for example, how can I say that? This is an HTML page. This is an HTML page, and this is a CSS page. Let's assume. Wait, I'll draw. So let's assume this is an HTML page and this is a CSS code. So if you are not using any Jinja2 template, you need to call this CSS into this HTML page, right? You need to call this CSS into HTML page. Then only See, if you don't use CSS, the HTML page will look like a black and white user interface. But when you use CSS, the HTML page will look like a colorful or beautiful, whatever maybe, whatever you call that kind of aesthetic appearance will be shown to the HTML page. So when you don't use Jinjato template, this CSS code, whatever the CSS code you have written, you can directly call that CSS code here using like giving the path of this file. But whenever you are using Jinjato template, if you want to call CSS code into the HTML page, then we'll be using URL underscore far. Then in the braces, you have to give that file path, CSS file path. If we are following Jinjato template engine, we have to provide in such a way that then only it will work. Then only it will work. For example, I'll show you one template. Just give me a minute. So, for example, screen is visible, right? So here you can see this is a login page, this is register page. So when I click on register page, could you able to see a black and white user interface, or a simple user interface, or a beautiful user interface? Black and white user interface, right? Simple one. So basically we used this is a Jinjato template. So when we use Jinjato template, when you try to open the application, directly from the system, it will not display the entire thing. It will not display the entire thing. When you host that application onto the server, when you host that application, so I will, in the end, I will tell you how to host that application. Whatever the application I've shown you, I will host that application onto the server. When I open that application on the server, now instead of like black and white template, you will be looking at the what we call user interface in a good way, because we use Jinja template. When you try to open directly, it will not display. So when you run that application only, it will display. So see, this is how Flask application will use. So we'll create a user interface using Bootstrap, or we can use HTML, CSS, or JavaScript, whatever the language you are okay with. You will be creating the user interface using this particular what we call tools, particular languages. So we can use HTML or CSS and JavaScript, or you can directly use the Bootstrap applications, Bootstrap templates that are available in the Google, and you can change the modification. You can do the modifications according to your project. So once user interface is ready, we will create a Flask application here using Python code. So once this Python code is ready, see, previously I have told one machine learning model. You save that machine learning model, and you will connect that machine learning model into this Flask application. If you are developing a machine learning applications or any AI applications, you will be using in that way. But if you want to store, like, you have to retrieve the information from this HTML page. See, you have to retrieve the information from this HTML page, and that information has to retrieve into the Flask application. Whatever the information I retrieve from the HTML page, that has to store into database. Here I will create a database. See, in today's session, we'll be using HTML, CSS, or some web pages, and we'll be creating some Flask application. And instead of SQLite, we'll be using IBM DB2 database. So in the database, we'll be creating the information related to this HTML page. Whatever the information I put onto this HTML page, that will be taken by the Flask application, and that information will get stored in my database, IBM DB2. So this is how we do in today's practical. So till here, am I clear? Till here, am I clear? Till here, am I clear? See, you can see a lot of servers like web server, you can find database server, you can find email server, you can find web proxy server. You can, like, based on the usage. Chats are disabled. Chat is disabled. You can put your questions or answers into the Q&A session. So, like, when you are trying to create a Flask framework, like a simple Flask application, this is how the for example, if you want to create some HTML pages, HTML code. So, how the HTML what we call structure look like? You will have head, body, and what we call, like, you will have a title, then you will have then header, you will have then body. Everything is enclosed in HTML doc, right? In the same way, for creating a Flask application, if you want to import the Flask application, if you want to like what we call import, if you want to use the Flask application, so you need to install the Flask application in your local system. In the sense, you need to open Anaconda prompt first. You need to open Anaconda prompt first, and once you open the Anaconda prompt, you need to what we call mm, uh, you need to install that Flask library or the module into the Anaconda prompt by using the command called pip install Flask. Difference between Flask and Flask. See, basically, this is a Flask. See, Flask. Can I ask you one question? So, previously you have done with machine learning, right? So, does what Python consist of? Python will have libraries, right? Yes or no? Python will have libraries or not? If you want to use any machine learning, if you want to use any machine learning technique, how you will use that machine learning technique? First of all, you need to import that machine learning model or algorithm from the library, right? Yes or no? So here small Flask is a library. Small Flask is a library that is available in Python. Available in Python. If you try to install this small Flask, in this Flask you will have libraries. What we call, you will have functions or the modules related to this particular library called Flask. See, in the second line, you have wrote something, right? App equal to Flask open bracket underscore underscore name underscore underscore. Here you are initializing a Flask application. See, here you are initializing a Flask application using the name constructor using the Flask constructor. In Flask, we have some constructors. So using the name constructor, you are initializing the Flask application. Once you initialize the Flask application, what you are doing, you need to route this application to the web pages. So we will create some web pages or whatever the things we have. So what we will do is, we will route this application to the web page whenever using at the rate. So here we created app, right? So app, using this app, we will route this application, whatever the application we created, we will route to the here we have decorators or URLs, whatever in the bracket you have uh, quotations and backslash, right? It means that there we will write some URL or some decorators or whatever it may be. So it will route to that particular URL or particular what we call decorator. For example, if you create some HTML page and we will use that HTML page here, so whenever when we run this Flask application, this application will route to this particular URL. Yeah, I'll go with the demo. I'll go with the demo. Just say, just give me 15 to 20 minutes. Once I complete the theory, I'll go with the demo. So I'll quickly move away from the theory. I'll quickly move away from the theory. So I will write this. Say you will route this application. After routing that, you will write a function inside this application. You will write a function. So once you route this application, for example, user has to take the inputs. So here, whatever the user input HTML page you created, that HTML page you will put here. And when you run this application, it will route to that user input, and when you give the inputs, that inputs will be taken into this function, and it will display the output. It will display the output. So always when you are trying to close the function, will be used name underscore at underscore name underscore equal to main constructor. Will be using this constructor to close the Flask application, and in the end you will use app.run. So this app.run is used to used for running the application. So I'll go to these things in practical, and when I am doing the practical, I'll be explaining more precisely. So if you want to use the Flask application, what you need, we need HTML pages, nothing but your user interface, and building server side script, nothing but Flask framework. Since Flask is written in Python, how can we use it for other programming languages? I didn't get you what you are saying. See, in Python we have Flask, but I'm not speaking about other programming languages, right? See, whatever the things we do, we have done previously, like machine learning or other things, that has to be done in Python only. So when compared to other frameworks, Flask is simple and it can create lightweighted applications and easy to build. So that is the reason why we will be going with Flask application here. So HTML pages, server side script is nothing but you will write a Flask code that is called server side script. So from the user, say we'll create a user interface where it will take the inputs and leave about this thing. So it is a microwave framework, already I explained. So if you want to install this Python, what we called Flask in your system, you need to use this particular command called pip install Flask. So if you are using the machine learning application, this is the data you will train the model. So once the model is trained, we need to integrate with the Flask application. Then this is the user interface, and this is the web. This is the user interface. User will give the input from the web, and it goes to here, and the machine learning model will predict the output, and it will throw the output onto the Flask again. Like the Flask will show the output onto the user interface. In this way it will work. So leave about this, so I will show the practical directly. So whatever the, like, these are the machine learning, like when you are trying to create a machine learning model, will be using. So here, see, the value of name underscore is to set main when module run as main program, otherwise it is set to name of the module. If you want to run this as a main program, we'll be using this name equal to main. So if you want to run the Flask application, this is how you go and run. So that I will show. So I request everyone to open, like, whatever the user interface you have. I'll be using Spider for creating the Flask application. So you can use any of the thing. I request everyone to open the. See, micro means, see, here it is micro. Micro means what? Small, right? Macro means large. See, previously I have told you, right? Flask is used to create light-weighted web frameworks. Light-weighted web applications means small applications. If you want to build complex applications, then you will be going for Django or some other thing. When it is a lightweighted applications or micro frameworks or micro applications, we'll be going with Flask. I don't have Spider. What should I do? You can use VS Code or PyCharm, whatever it may be. Just give me 2 minutes. It will get connected in a while. I hope everyone is having IBM cloud account, right? Yes or no? Yeah. See, so default when you try to open uh, editor in Spider, so defaultly it is saved as .py extension. .py extension defaultly it is saved as .py extension. So this is when coming to the Spider, this is the place where I will write the code. This is the place where I will write the code, and this is the place where the execution takes place. When I run this code, the execution will takes place here in the console window. And this is the place where I can import files into the system and I can check whether it is available or not. I will directly write the code here itself. I will directly write the code. Like first of all, I will be like I'll tell you how to create a simple Flask application. Then after that, we will create one simple web page, and we'll integrate that with the Flask application. Then we'll go with the DB2, how to create a DB2 service and all those things. And at the end, so I'll take one use case like plasma donor application one, and I'll explain about those application and I will show you how to run. So if you want to use the Flask application, what is the first thing I need to do? I need to import the Flask, right? So from Flask, import Flask. I'm importing this particular uh, Flask application. So using this, we will create an application. This is a library. This is a library. So if you want to import this module or function, see when you click onto this, automatically it will display what are the things that are present inside this function. So I'm importing this function from the Flask module. Sir, I don't know about IBM Cloud, sir, because I opened the web and fill all required details. Please. Okay? Do you have IBM account? Do you have IBM account? Just give me a minute. So I'll undock. Now could you able to see? Now could you able to see? Now could you able to see what I am writing? Now is it visible? Yeah. So first of all, I'm importing the Flask. So after importing, so when you import a Flask, if I want to create a simple Flask application and if I want to run on the some web server, so I want to create an application. So how can I create an application? I imported the Flask. After that, inside that, I have to create the Flask class object. So here I am creating the Flask class object using underscore underscore name underscore underscore. So this is how I create the Flask app. So till here, am I clear? So basically, this is a Flask class object of Flask. So till here, am I clear? Please respond. Sir, can we only integrate HTML pages on Flask? Yeah, we can integrate HTML and CSS pages on Flask. So first, in the first example, I will create simple Flask application. In the second example, I'll create simple user interface using HTML, and I try to show that also. Please be patient. Please be patient. So after creating, what I need to do? I need to route the application, right? So at the rate app dot route is the function I need to give. After that, inside I need to give the decorator. So backslash is a decorator. Backslash is a decorator. Spelling rout backslash is a decorator. Decorator. Then here I am creating some user defined functions. I'll create some user defined functions, home or whatever it may be. Then so I'll return some output. Whatever the output I say, when I run this Flask application, it will route to the web server. It will route to the web server. So whatever the like message I give here, whatever the message whatever the message I give here, that message will be displayed onto the web server. Hello, welcome to Python Flask. So this simple code, I have written a simple web framework. So when I run this application, so it will route to the this decorator URL will this is basically decorator basically will be giving URL here. Like when I run this application, a URL will get opened. uh, that URL, when you open that URL, so this message, whatever the message I am returning here, that message will be displayed onto the web server. So once I return that thing, what I need to do? I need to set the name function with the main function, right? Yes or no? I need to set the main function with the name function or not? Name underscore underscore equal to underscore underscore main underscore underscore. So here I am setting the main function. So after that, I need to run this application app.run. So inside this, you have host. Inside the app.run, you have host as well as you have port as well as you have optional. So leave about the optional as of now. Then we'll be having debug. So I'll explain each and every entity. So host is nothing but so whenever you run this application, it will run on some web address. So in the starting few lines are nothing but host. Like let me run this application and I will show you. So debug equal to false. I'm keeping debug equal to false. It means I need to run this application multiple times. See, till here, am I clear? Till here, am I clear? See, when I run this application, just now I have shown you. So, for example, comma. See, host is there, then port is there. See, whatever the http, it is running on the http server, it is running on the http server. After that, this 127.0.0.1, this is nothing but the host value, this is nothing but the host value. And 5000 is nothing but the what we call port value. 5000 is nothing but the port value. When I copy this web server, server link, when I copy this host address, when I copy this host address and go to Google, and if I paste it there, if I paste it there, so what output I am able to see here? What output I am able to see here? See, whatever the code, whatever the output I have written in the Flask application, whatever the output I have written in the Flask application. See, I wrote this thing, right? I have created a simple Flask application. Then using route function, I routed that to URL, and on that URL, on the web, whatever the URL I get here, onto this URL, this message has to be displayed. Right? So it is, am I able to display the message on the web address, on the website? Am I able to display the message onto the website or not? Please respond. Am I able to? You cannot do this in Google Colab. You need to do in Spider or PyCharm or VS Code, or what we called Notepad plus plus or something else, any IDE. So till here, am I clear? Yes, you are able to see the output and you are able to get the output, right? So this is how you create a simple Flask application and host that Flask application onto the server. See here, you can see here, this application is using WSGI server. WSGI server. It means web server gateway interface. It is using web server gateway interface. So basically, this is a web application. And onto the web server, if you want to display this output, we are using WSGI server. Am I clear till here? Sir, how to do it in VS Code? Could you please tell? I don't know anything about. So if you don't know anything about VS Code, I request you to install Spider. So please, I request you to do it in uh, yeah, you can run it in Anaconda prompt also. You can run it in Anaconda command prompt, not command prompt. You can run it, you can run in from command prompt as well as Anaconda prompt also. For example, how can I will show, but you didn't enter any URL in the app. Yeah, I didn't enter any URL. See, that is the reason I told. When I see, just look at this thing. App.run. So when you run the app.run, host address, host the whatever the value, like HTTP is a default server, and host 127.0.0.1 is a default host value taken by the Flask application, and 5000 port value is there, right? 5000 port value 5000 is there, right? That is the default port value taken by the Flask application. So if you don't enter anything, it will defaultly run it on this particular URL. Yeah, I will run again. So you will see, you will find a run button here. Could you able to see the run button here? Please click on that run button. When you click on that run button, your application will get hosted here. The output will be displayed here. So copy this using mouse and copy this using mouse. Don't press Ctrl C. If you press Ctrl C, it will get quit. So if you paste this link onto the web, it will display the output. Till here, am I clear? Please respond. I request you to, yeah, till here, am I clear? Yeah. Now what we will do is I will explain the elements of this thing. Sir, how to do in VS Code? Okay. See, here basically when you are giving app.route, here two things you will pass. So I'm removing just, I'm showing here. One is you need to pass the rule as well as the options. Basically, we need to pass the two parameters here. In the app.route, we will passing the two parameters. One is rule and one is option. So rule is nothing but it represents the URL, whatever the rule we give here. This is nothing but URL. See, app.route. So I am passing the URL. I am passing the rule here. So this is nothing but it has to route to this URL, whatever the URL it opens, it has to route to that particular URL. Can I use this code in Google Colab? No, you cannot run this code in Google Colab. Might be like you can run, you are not using any any HTML pages, right? You can directly run this, copy this code. First of all, import Flask application, copy this code. I'm pasting this code in the chat. I'm enabling the chat, so I'm pasting this code in the chat. So make sure that you can run this. So please give me the confirmation whether the code has been I have shared the code in the chat window. I have shared the code in the chat window. You can see that code. So basically, here you will pass one rule. So that rule is called, this is the rule. After that, what we will do is, so I have explained about this thing, right? So debug is, if you put debug equal to false, so every time you need to run that, and that application will host each and every time. So port value is nothing but on this default value 5000 is the default port value. So when you don't give any port value, it will host on 5000. So if you want to give some port value, you can give it as port equal to some 8000. You can give port value as 8000 or whatever it may be. So if you run this application, now, so it will get hosted on 8000. Now previously it was 5000, right? Now it got hosted on 8000. In the same way, you can give host value. You can give host value just by typing host equal to, instead of 127.2, you can give whatever the host value you want, 111.1.1 point something else you can give. In this way, you can give the host value. So so you can give your own host value, so no need to change any host value. So like sometimes you will throw an error like your web server is yes, host value is the replacement of that 127.0 that one. If you want to replace that thing, you can give your own thing, but don't change that. So you try to change this port value. So whenever you run multiple times, you will get an error like this. For example, your server has been overloaded, or you cannot reach this page at this time. At that time, what you need to do is you need to change the port value. Then it will work. So this is a simple Flask application. So what we look into the next thing is, so already I explained about app routing, right? So I explained about app routing. So this is app routing. Then so what we can do is you can do some changes, like you can take the input from the user also, like let's try this. So here, instead of this thing, here I will write home, then slash, then here I will give some name. So here, whatever the name I am giving, that name has to be given here. That name has to be given here. So then only, like whatever the output I want, I will display it here, like hello, comma, plus. So that name has to become here. Then, and if I run this application, let's check. So home, then name, then here name, home, return hello. Yes, comma is missing. Comma, then name. So I'll try once again. It works or not. Let's experiment. Yeah, it is not working. Clear about that. So the thing is, this part is clear, right? Whatever I want to print onto the HTML page using using this URL and the output, whatever you want to print onto the HTML page. Sir, in Python, symbol should not be used. Fi. So till this point, everything is clear. Now we'll create one HTML page. We'll create some HTML page, and the user will take. Pip is not recognized. Please open Anaconda prompt. See, in this way, open Anaconda prompt here. Open Anaconda prompt here and type pip install, pip install flask. Pip install flask. So if pip is not recognized, if pip is not recognized in Anaconda, then you can use conda install flask. You can also use this thing. You can also use this thing. Yeah, okay, that is fine. If it is working for you, that is fine. So we have only like 45 minutes. Within that 45 minutes, I have to cover one more example. After that, like you understood, right? As of now, you understood, right? So as of now, you understood the concept, right? Yes or no? Please respond. So what we can do is we can create some HTML page. So what I will do is I'll create a simple user interface. I'll create simple user interface. I'll create simple user interface. How can you? So here I will be using HTML .html. I have to save this page, right? So first of all, I will save this desktop. abc.html. So here what I will do is I will open and close. After that, I'll create some head. After that, I'll write some title. So here what I will do is I'll give the title as message or demo. Then backslash title. Then I need to close the head, right? I will close the head. After that, I will give the body. Then in the body, I will write some heading with H1. Hello. Welcome to Python. So previously in last example, without creating any user interface, like any website, you directly display the output onto the HTML page, right? Now what I will do is I will, so then I will use the body. Then I will use HTML. So a simple message was written here, and I will save. And if I open the user interface, where it is, yeah, this is the user interface. So when I here I am integrating an HTML page. This HTML page, whatever the HTML page I created, I am integrating that HTML page with the Flask application. So I will also save this Flask application. Like here, I will write some code. So what I need to do is name, file, app route, definition of message, demo I have given, right? So demo, then instead of return the message. So here what I am doing, I am using HTML page, right? It means whatever the thing that has to be uh, like when I run this application, it has to render to that HTML page, right? Render to that HTML page. So if I want to render that to HTML page, I need to import this particular function render template. So it will render the result onto this HTML page, like demo dot, oh, demo not abc, right? abc dot html. Here also I'll write whatever, and you can give anything. So abc dot html, and so returning the render template debug equal to false. I need to save this application. I need to save this application, like just give me a minute, where it is, desktop, then app challenge. So here I need to save. So I will use app.py or something else. So now if I run this application, does my application will run, or it will display the output or not? If I run this application, does my application will run and display the output or not? Sir, can I download any Python programmer or go to Google and did it in the website? Yeah, you can do. If see, try to in the last classes you have does it? No one told anyone told like to install Anaconda Navigator or some Python IDE. Did they told or not? Yeah, it will display the output. HTML file should replace in the template folder. So if I run this application, it will show me internal server error. So it will show me internal server error. So this is not in the template folder, right? So this is not in the template folder. Templates. So I need to put this ABC into this template. I need to put this templates into the HTML folder, templates folder. Yeah, I'm sharing the code in the chat. Just give me a minute. So to see the chat window, I'm sharing this entire code. Just give me a minute. Once I run this code and I will. So here you can see template not found, template not found. So that is the reason why whenever you run this application, it has to kept in the template folder. Whenever you keep that HTML page in the template folder, then only it will take, So Jinja2 template supports template folder. So if it is we are using Jinja2 template, so we have to create a template folder and put the HTML files into the template folder. Then you have to run the application. Then only it will display the output, or else it will throw you an error like template is not found. So till here, am I clear? See, you want to create a Flask application. So here, this is the function which is used to create an application, Flask application. So here I am creating a variable name. Instead of app, you can use anything. I am using app, but you can use whatever the name you want. You can use, see, just here I am using app. It doesn't mean that you have to use app. Instead of that, you can use any name. Basically, it is a variable. Whatever the name you use here, you have to use the same name here. So I want to create a Flask application. So I imported the Flask function. So using Flask function and the name and underscore underscore name constructor, I'm using this creating an application. So till here, am I clear? Till here, am I clear? I am sharing these two codes in the chat. So we have only 30 minutes. So we'll go into the IBM part quickly. So I have shared the Flask code. I've shared the Flask code as well as the HTML code. I will share you. So you can use anything. So till here, am I clear? Please respond. Shall we move into the IBM part? Till here, am I clear? Shall we move into the IBM part? Please give me the confirmation in a quick way. So I will close this thing. No. So please give me the confirmation. Please give me the confirmation. Shall we move into the IBM part? Sir, can we have one more session in this topic? Like the extension of this session will be taken in tomorrow's session. See, I'm just telling about the Flask application, how to create a Flask application, how to correct an HTML page with the Flask application, and I will tell you how to run this application. In the next session, they will be taking about like Dockerization and containerization of the application. So I'll give the references. I'll give the references by the end of the session. You can go to the references and you can learn more about the Flask application. For deploying machine learning model, we will be not saying anything, I think. So for deploying the machine learning models, I don't have that information regarding this. So today is my last session for the people. So I'll be dealing with IBM DB2 creation and I'll be closing the session. So I request everyone to open the cloud account. I request everyone to open the cloud account. So please log in into the cloud account. Please log in into the cloud account. Sir, can you please show how to see internal server error? How you are getting is whatever the template you created, whatever the HTML page you created, you have to keep that HTML page in a folder called templates. You have to create a folder called templates. In that templates, you have to keep that HTML page. Then app.py will be outside that of this template. Then only it can take. These two files will be in this manner. In templates, you have to keep HTML page and app.py. Nothing but the Flask application file will be out of the template. Then only it will work. Please log in into IBM Cloud. I request everyone to log in into IBM Cloud. Sir, if I log into cloud account, it shows blank page only from 6 days. This problem is going. What can I do? What blank page? I didn't get you what you are saying. Can you, anonymous attendee, can you take the screenshot and put into Telegram? Put that message in Telegram. Mentors will be looking at that message and will be resolving the issue. So So when you log in into the IBM cloud, when you log in into the IBM cloud, so this is the thing you will display. This is the thing you will display. So uh, in the catalog, if you click on, this is the IBM cloud user interface where it will provide all the like cloud services. It will provide artificial intelligence services. When you click on to the catalog button, you can see here on the left side, could you able to see on the left side, so it is able to provide recommended products like compute services related to computing, containers, networking, storage, AI/ML, and analytics, blockchain. In the same way, each and every domain this IBM cloud is able to provide the services. So we will be using the service related to the storage, right? We'll be using the service related to the storage. So we basically will be dealing with IBM cloud account, IBM DB2. So please type IBM DB2. So please type IBM DB2 in the search button. When you type IBM DB2 IBM DB2 in the search button, IBM2 DB2 in the search button, you can able to see the service called DB2. Please click on DB2. Please click on DB2. So when you click on DB2, this page will get opened. When you click on DB2, this page will get opened. So this is how we will create a service instance. If I want to use IBM DB2 service, I need to create this service first. So if I want to create this service, please type DB2 in search bar. When you type DB2, you will get DB2 service. Please click on to that. When you click on to that, it will navigate you to this page. It will navigate you to this page. So once you are onto this page, make sure that the plan is light and the pricing is free. You need to select this option, free plan or light plan. So select this service and there is a checkbox on the right. Please check the box. Please check the box. When you check the box, this create button will get enabled. Once the create button got enabled, please click on create button. For me, it is not enabled because I already created the DB2 service. So I can use the existing one. When you check the box and click on create button, IBM DB2 service instance will get created. So I hope everyone created this IBM DB2 service. Sir, if I log in, sir, by logging to IBM Academic Initiative using IBM invalid. So don't log in. You created the IBM Cloud account. Did you created the IBM Cloud account? So if you haven't created the IBM Cloud account, in the group you have a video regarding how to create a cloud account. Please follow that video and create the account. Okay, I will go a bit slow. So please click on DB2, then check the box on the right side. Check the box on the right side. And when you check the box, create option will get enabled. Create option will get enabled. So when you click on to the create option, so IBM DB2 service will get created. Till here, am I clear? Till here, am I clear? Make sure that you need to select free plan, light plan. So does everyone created the DB2 service? Please give me the confirmation. Does everyone created the DB2 service? Please give me the confirmation. Does everyone created the DB2 service? In the search bar, type IBM DB2. So when you type IBM DB2, DB2 service will shown. Please click on to the DB2 service. When you click on to the DB2 service, this page will get enabled. So when you are on to this page, make sure that the plan is light and the pricing is free. Select this option. Select free option. After that, here you need to check the box. Please check the box. When you check the box, create button will get enabled. So please click on create button. When you click on create button, IBM DB2 service will get created. Till here, am I clear? I hope everyone created the account. Yeah, it might take some time. It might take some time. So I hope everyone created the service, right? So once you created the service, on the please on the top left you will find hamburger menu. So here you will find navigation menu. Could you able to see the navigation menu? Please click on to the navigation menu. Under navigation menu you will have resource list. Please click on to the resource list. When you click on to the resource list, this page will get opened. So once you are onto this page, you will have an option called services and softwares. You will have an option called services and softwares. Could you able to see this option? Could you able to see this option? Yeah, please, if you are facing any issue, please just listen to the session. We don't have much time. We have only 25 minutes or 20 minutes. Listen to the session, and anyhow, the recorded session will be provided to you. You can watch the recorded sessions. So please click on to the services arrow mark. When you click on to the services and softwares, so here you could able to see the DB2 service which I created previously. That service will be available here. So please click on to this DB2. So till here everyone is fine. Till here everyone is clear. Till here everyone is clear. Please respond. Till here everyone is clear. So when you are onto this page, you will find manage option, get started, service credentials, connections. So if you want to connect this DB2 with the Flask application, so we'll be using the connections and the service credentials. So if you want to create a database, if you want to create a database or tables or run some SQL queries in the DB2 server, then we have to go to UI. Could you able to see the option go to UI? Could you able to see the option go to UI? Could you able to see the option go to UI? Please respond. Yeah, please click on go to UI. Please click on go to UI. When you click on go to UI, so DB2 service will get opened. This is IBM DB2 on cloud. So this is the user interface where you will create tables, you will perform data, you will create tables or you will perform SQL operations. Like if you want to after creating the table, you need to insert the data into table. You can use SQL queries and you can use data. And like if you want to create the data with this option, you can create. And if you want to run some SQL queries, you can use SQL. And this is the dashboard. So this is the dashboard. So if you click onto the SQL, so SQL operation interface will get created. Like whatever the data table you created, that data table will be displayed here. If you can use SQL commands to what we call insert the data into the SQL table. I'll show you that. So here, please click on to the data. Please click on to the data. So everyone is on this page. Please give me the confirmation. Yeah. So here in the data, you have a table, right? So this is load data, this is load history, this is table, this is views, indexes. In SQL, we have some sort of objects, right? So please click onto the table. Please click onto the table. We have to create a table. We have to create a table. So defaultly, it was created in this name. Please click on that. Please click on that. Under this, what we call uh, ID, under this ID, these are the tables I created previously. So when you check the box here, when you check the box here, so here this thing will get opened. For you, you don't, I think you don't have any tables, right? For you don't have any tables, right? Yes or no? Do you have any tables here? Do you have any tables here in your case? No tables, right? So if you want to create some table, if you want to create some table, you have an option called table, right? Please click on table. Please click on table. When you click on table, here this thing will get opened. You can give the name of the table. You can give whatever the name you want to give for creating a table. You can give that name. For example, I'll give some demo. Okay, sorry. I'll give some demo. After that, once I give the name of the table as demo, here I need to insert the column. So here what I will do, I'll give some column name as name. So name, basically name is a varchar, right? So these are data types. You can use data types when you click on to this type. So data types basically will be using varchar. So the default byte length is 32. So one column is added. If I want to add one more column, if I want to add one more column, I can click on add column option on the top right corner. Add column option on the top right corner. So add column option on the top right corner. I can give here uh, email. So email, I will give some data type. So varchar. So after that, what I will do, I'll give some password, whatever maybe, whatever the columns you want to create in the data, please give that names. So this is how you create a data table using uh, like you have created the data table, right? So once you create the column names, please click on create button. Please click on create button. When you click on create button, whatever the table you have created, that is displayed here, right, under the tables in this database. In this database you can able to see the table, right? The whichever the table we have created previously, that data table is able to create like able to display here, right? What is the scale? I have missed that. Just again. So scale is nothing but I think so so we'll be giving about the name. This is nothing but column name. This is data type. So it is nullable or not nullable. Length might be, it might be some data measures. So it might be we are not using that type. Just like we'll be using like how to create a data, like how to create a data table and how to insert a like data into this data table. So when you click on view data, could you able to see the view data? When you click on view data, what you are able to see? There is no data here, right? Yes or no? Could you able to see any data here? No, right? So no data you could see. So what you can do is go to the tables and so I need to like insert the data into this demo table. Insert the data into this demo table. So you will find SQL, right? Could you able to see SQL? So please click on SQL. Please click on SQL. So in this we have tables. So okay, where is my data demo table? So just give me a minute. So data tables. So now reload the page. When you reload the page, your demo table will get created. So now I want to insert some data into this demo table. Into this demo table. How can I insert? I will write some SQL query. So insert insert into. So I am inserting the values. Inserting the values. Insert into insert into table name. I have to give demo, right? Demo, table demo. After that, what I have to do? I have to give the column names, right? If you are using SQL query, I have to give the column name. What column names I have given? First one is name, right? Second one, what, which column name I have given? Email. Mail. Something else I have given, right? Just give me a minute, I'll check. I'll check it. I'm not able to remember. So go to the data, then tables, then click on this, then demo, then email, right? So I'll copy this and okay, first of all, I'll copy this name and I'll paste it here. Then after that, I'll copy email and I'll paste it here. And after that, I'll give password and I'll paste it here. So after that, what I do, I need to enter the values. Values. So I will give values. So here name, I'll give some name. After that, what I will give email. I'll put the email in quotations, srikanth@gmail.com. After that, what I will queue, then password, some 1 2 3 4 5, and it has to run with colon. So this is how I did I wrote the code in a right way? Authorization error, current page cannot be accessed because verifying your permission failed. Try to reload it once again. So when I run this SQL query, whatever the SQL query I used, when I run this, you can see the execution here, right? It is successfully executed and the data was inserted here. Now we'll check whether the data was inserted here or not. So I'll go to the demo table. I'll go to the demo table and I'll click on view data. I'll click on view data. See, now am I able to insert the data into am I able to insert the data into DB2 using SQL, right? I created the table. See, till here am I clear? I created the DB2 service. Inside the DB2 service, in this database, I created a table called demo, and using SQL query, I what we call I inserted the data. So if I want to retrieve the data, select star from demo. If I run this, so now am I able to retrieve the information, right? Yes or no? So when I click that, see here, when I run the SQL query here, so am I able to get the information or not? Yes or no? So in this way, which code? This code. So you can use this code. I'm pasting it into the chat window. So SQL query. So in this way, I can create a database table, and I can create a database in SQL, in IBM Cloud. I can create a table and I can insert the data using SQL operation. Till here, am I clear? Please respond. Till here, am I clear? So if I am clear, so I'll share the files with you. Like I'll share the files in Telegram, so we don't have much time to, like if you people execute parallelly with me, it will take a lot of time. So once I show you what are the files and what are those things, and after that I'll execute all these files. So here, if I go to the data, if I go to the data, see, this is my files, DB2 files. Could you able to see plasma donor application files? If you go to the templates, this is the login page where you can give enter your username and enter your password and get login into that application. And this is a registration page, so where you need to provide all the information and click on register, and you will get registered with that application, plasma donor application. So after that, we'll request HTML. So if you want to request some blood group or O positive blood group or something else, and type the message. And basically we integrated this application with the mobile number, so currently we are not using that application. So in the next class, they will be teaching you about how to more about this application. So when you click on submit button, so when you integrate with mobile application, mobile number, for your mobile number you will get a message. So this is stats.html, so it will give this stats, whatever the stats is there. So based on that, what are the information that's stored here, b1 b2 is kept. So whatever the numbers, how many information like user information is there, will get stored into the database. That many information, see, previously donors zero, you have nothing, and O positive is nothing, B2 is nothing. So when I run this plasma donor application, so when before running, I need to explain something. Like here, I go to the tables. I already created plasma donor database table. So when I click onto the plasma donor database, here, see, You can, I will open that application also at the meantime, so that it will be more useful. So I'll go here, I'll copy this. So I'll paste this into the spider and files. So I'll go with app.py. So basically this app.py. So Flask application we'll be using here. So you know, right? So this is the Flask application how we create. So here in this database, I am creating name, phone number, city, all this information. I want to connect this database table with the Flask application. Whenever I run the Flask application, this user interface, this HTML pages will get opened where the user can give the inputs to this HTML page. That information has to come here and store it into this. See, that information has to come here and store it here. It has to store this information here, like whatever the information I give, my name, email ID, mobile number, and whatever the information I give here, that information has to store here in the database. So I will connect this database data table with the what we call Flask application. How can I connect? So go to the administration. When you go to the administration, you will find windows here. Go to the administration, you will find windows. Here you will find host name, port number, and database name. Host name, port number, and database name. Yeah, we'll share that files in Telegram after this session. So here, what are the changes you need to do is here host name, you need to change the host name, port number, and blue database name is IBM Blue DB. See, when you open this application, when you like, just give me a minute. So when you see this, here you can see, right, database name is BlueDB, and host name you have to copy from here. The host name you need to copy here from here, and you need to paste the host name and port value. See, whatever the port value here it is there, I will copy that port value and I'll paste it here. After that, what you need to change? So everything security, SSL, all these things will be same. And here user ID and the password you need to change. And one thing you need to do, when you scroll down, you will find download SSL certificate. You need to download this SSL certificate. You need to download this SSL certificate from here, and you need to paste here. See, I already downloaded Digi Certi Global Root CA, this certificate. I will download this SSL certificate from here, and I'll keep that in that files. So once you do these changes, after that, what you need to do is go to the IBM cloud on DB2. Go to the IBM cloud on DB2. Then go to, just give me a minute. Wait a minute. So go to the services. Then here you this page, main page. So IBM DB2. Before going to the user interface, you will have service credentials. You will have service credentials. Please click on to the service credentials. If this service credentials is not there, you have a option called new credentials. Please click on new credentials and create the service credentials by giving some name and click on add button. When you click on to that, service credentials will get created. When you drop down, if you scroll down here, you can find password and username, right? You need to copy this username and password from here, and you need to just give me a minute. You need to paste it here. You need to paste user ID, and you need to paste the password. Everything will be same. So after that, after connecting, whenever I run this application, my registration page will get opened. So just now I have shown that registration page, this registration page. So this page will get opened. So where the user can where the user can register and he can give the values. So in this registration page, we will give the values, right? That values will get stored here. After storing here, these values will be converted into DB parameters, database parameters. Like in here I created the database, right? Just give me a minute. So here my database is there, right? So if I go to the data, then tables, and then see this DB parameters. So it will match with these DB parameters and it will display the output there, in which page the user see go to. If you not for see go to this page, go to IBM cloud. If you are not able to find, go to IBM cloud, go to the services and softwares, go to the resources list, go to the resources list, go to the services and softwares. Here you will find DB2, right? Please click on DB2. Please click on DB2. When you click on DB2, so this page will get opened. Here you will find service credentials. Here you will find service credentials. So all the inputs will be taken from the user, and if the user is existed, so it will display you are already a member. If the user is not existed, so whatever the information that has been fetched from the HTML page, that will be added as a parameter to the IBM DB2 table. Whatever the DB2 table I've created here, to this DB2 table, whatever the information I give in the HTML page, that will be added as a data. So once it is done, it will show this a message as a registration successful. Please log in using new details. So when we try to log in using our email ID and password, so then we need to request for the like plasma donor. So if the exact blood group and the password matches of, if the password and the email ID matches, then it will successfully log in. Once it is login, so whatever the blood group we are, whatever the plasma group we are requesting, blood group, that blood group will be checked and verified with the database in our system, and it will after checking if it is matching, it will display the output. So this is how we will request those things. So about this code and how to use this code, that will be explained in tomorrow session. Like uh, in tomorrow session also we'll be explaining about plasma donor application only. Like I will quickly run this application and show you. So I will open Anaconda prompt, and what I can do is you can run the application from Spider, or else you can run the application from Anaconda prompt. So go to, I'm navigating to this particular location. Then IBM hack challenge, cd.desktop hack challenge. Then cd space db2 IBM db2, then cd space plasma IBM db2, then python app.py. So when I run this python app.py, that is present in my files, this python app.py, whatever the code just now I have shown. When I run this code, so it will get hosted on a particular web server. When I copy this and paste it onto the Google Chrome, when I copy this and paste it onto the Google Chrome, so this page will get opened. This page, plasma donor application, will get open. If you want to register, for example, let's register. So I will register with some uh, different mail ID. So I'll give some random numbers, and I will give some so I'll choose some red group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So when I click on register, so it will tell you have successfully registered. So whatever the data I entered here, that data has to be stored in my database, right? So I'll go to the database, I click on view data. So see, I entered just now, right? I entered my name, I entered some random email ID, and I entered some random phone number, and I entered details, and I have given these things. So whatever the data I entered through this application, that information is getting stored in my database. This is how we store the database whenever we create an application. So if they want to store the data that is coming from the application, so this application is interacted with the user, right? So whatever the user gives the output here, like input here, data here, that input, that data has to be stored in your DB. In this way we can store the data, and once we have lot of amount of data, we can export the data into CSV file and we can download the data. So in this way we will collect the data using database. So in the same way, for example, if I go to the home and if I click on login button, so I'll enter my email id mail.com. So if it matches only, it will show, or else if it doesn't matches, it will throw me an error. So if it is matching, yes, it is matching. So this information, see, there are 5 donors. Previously, everywhere it was B, right? B. Some random value is there. Just now I entered whatever the information I entered through this form, that information will be get stored in my database. Based on that information only, these values will get displayed. So this is how we do. So when I go to home, yeah, this is how we develop an application using Flask, and we'll integrate with Flask application. And if you want to store the data that is coming from the application, we'll use db2 in this way, and we'll create the table and we'll integrate this db2 table with the application in this way. So remaining thing, like more about this application will be teach to you in the next tomorrow session. So as of now, clear, right? Till here, am I clear? Till here, am I clear? Please respond. After credential creation, what to do? I didn't get you, Nirmala. Can you come again? Can you ask your question once again? So, service credentials, you are speaking about the service credentials, right? So, once you create the service credentials, please click on to the drop down. Here you will find username and password. Just give me a minute. Here you will find username and password. Where is that? Here you will find username and password. Copy that username and password and paste it here. See, and paste it here. You need to change the thing. Here you can see, right? In the top, you will find here on the top, you will find UID and password, right? Could you able to see UID and password here? So please change, put your UID and password there. So am I clear now? Am I clear now? Copy the login ID and password from there and paste it here, and download the SSL certificate from there. Please give me the confirmation. Till here everything is clear. Yeah. So if you have any queries, you can ask us, or else you can leave the session.